I will never forget the look on Patricia Bellwether's face the day she used her precious HOA master key to break into my home. There she was, frozen in my doorway, the key still trembling in the lock, her eyes wide as though she'd just seen a ghost. But it wasn't a ghost she saw. It was two police officers sitting comfortably on my sofa, sipping coffee like they owned the place. Officer Thompson didn't even raise his voice. He simply looked up from his cup and said, with the kind of calm that can slice through a person's pride, well, right on time. Patricia's clipboard slipped from her fingers. Her mouth fell open. She stumbled backward, tripped over my welcome mat, and landed face first into my potted geraniums. But to understand why the queen of the HOA was now sprawled in my flowers, we need to go back 2 weeks. My name is Daniel Morrison. After 30 years as a corporate accountant, I had finally retired early, dreaming of quiet mornings with crossword puzzles and slow afternoons where the loudest sound was my teapot whistling. The house I bought on Maple Grove Circle seemed perfect. Blue shutters, a small garden, a neighborhood so peaceful you could hear the wind in the trees. That peace lasted exactly 3 days, because that's when she appeared. Patricia Bellwether, the self-appointed ruler of Riverside Heights, HOA president for life, and a woman who wore her authority like a general wears their medals. Her blazer was so stiff it could stand on its own. Her laminated badge said president in bold letters, as though it were a royal title. She didn't knock, she didn't smile, she simply thrust a clipboard toward me. Mr. Morrison, she began, voiced sharp as glass, you haven't submitted your landscaping approval forms. I told her I hadn't changed a thing. She pursed her lips like she'd just bitten into something sour. Pre-existing conditions still require documentation, and your mailbox is 0.7 inches too tall. From that moment, she made me her personal project. She measured my grass with an actual ruler. She complained my garden hose was coiled counterclockwise. She even claimed my curtains were too beige and created an aesthetically disruptive neutral zone. When I refused to replace them, she narrowed her eyes and hissed, "The HOA has ways of dealing with troublemakers." From there, things escalated. Patricia started parking across the street for hours, snapping photos with a telephoto lens like some suburban spy. She spread rumors, said I was receiving suspicious deliveries. It was a microwave from Best Buy, and that I was running a secret business from my home. I carried a laptop bag once. She even criticized the font on my house numbers, calling it aggressively modern. The breaking point came when I installed a bird feeder. Patricia pounded on my door at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, screaming about unauthorized wildlife attractants. When I showed her the HOA rules and proved bird feeders weren't prohibited, she smirked and scribbled on her clipboard, "They are now. Emergency amendment passed last night." That was the moment I knew. I needed to fight back. I installed security cameras, legal, visible, and impossible to miss. Patricia hated them. She told the neighborhood I was spying on everyone, and even called an emergency meeting to address the surveillance situation at my address. When I calmly explained my cameras only covered my own property, an elderly neighbor, Gladys Palmer, raised her hand and said, "Patricia, didn't you put cameras on the community mailbox last year?" The silence that followed was delicious. But Patricia wasn't done. Soon, small things in my yard began to move. My trash cans weren't where I'd left them, my doormat was crooked, my back gate wide open. I filed a police report. The blurry footage I showed Officer Thompson wasn't definitive, but the figure wore a very familiar stiff blazer. "We've had complaints about her before," the officer said. "Those master keys aren't for snooping." He told me to change my locks and call him if things escalated. The very next day, Patricia was outside my window with binoculars. When I confronted her, she muttered something about Phase 2. I had no idea what that meant, but I was about to find out. I created a plan. For several mornings, I pretended to leave for work at exactly 8 a.m., only to park around the corner and sneak home through the alley. On the third day, at 8:45 sharp, I heard the key in my front door. Officer Thompson and Officer Rodriguez were already inside, sipping coffee and eating donuts I'd bought earlier. The door creaked open. Patricia stepped in, clipboard in one hand, measuring tape in the other, mumbling about interior violations. She didn't notice us until she looked up. Her face went white. "Patricia Bowheader," Officer Thompson announced, "you're under arrest for breaking and entering, criminal trespass, and violation of Texas Penal Code 30.05. Her legs gave way. She collapsed onto my rug, babbling about HOA authority. "Ma'am," Officer Rodriguez said, "wanting to measure someone's curtains is not an emergency." Within hours of her being led away in handcuffs, the neighborhood buzzed. People stopped by to thank me. Gladys brought me an apple pie and whispered, "I've waited 5 years for this day." At the next HOA meeting, without Patricia's iron grip, the truth poured out. She had entered homes to measure furniture, gone through people's mail, even counted decorative stones in backyards. The board voted to remove her as president, change all the locks, and ban her from HOA leadership permanently. 2 months later in court, I testified with my footage and records. Neighbors testified too. Patricia's lawyer claimed she thought she was acting within her authority. The judge's reply was ice cold. Mrs. Bellwether, being an HOA president does not make you law enforcement. It does not give you the right to violate someone's home. Patricia was found guilty, 2 years probation, 300 hours community service, $5,000 in fines, and a lifetime ban from serving on any HOA board in the state. When the sentence was read, Patricia turned to me, eyes wet, voice trembling. I was just trying to maintain property values. The judge didn't even blink. The only value you've damaged, she said, is your own.